Now let's look at one last problem. Okay, in this problem, we want to solve for x. 2, the quantity 1 minus x to the 1/3, plus 3, the quantity 1 minus x to the 1/6 equals 2. Now obviously, again, this is going to be a substitution, so that we make it look quadratic. Um, Obviously, your u wants to contain some bit of 1 minus x, but then if that's all you let u equal, then you still have to contend with the 1/3 power and the 1/6 power. Now, ideally, we should let the lower power stand in, so that's going to be to the 1/6 is going to be u. Now, if that's u, you should suspect that this term over here to the 1/3 power is u squared. If you're not convinced, then you say, well, what is u squared? U squared would have to be, okay, 1 minus x to the 1/6 squared. And yes, that should give you, okay, because when you have powers inside and outside, you multiply them. So that would be 1 minus x to the 2/6, which would collapse to 1 minus x to the 1/3 power. Okay. So there you have, that's u squared. So then this simply becomes 2u squared plus 3u equals 2, which looks looks exactly quadratic. Okay. So then we'll put this in the form where we can hopefully factor it. I think it'll factor. Minus 2 equals 0. We've got 2, so that's a prime number. That's helpful. So you get 2u and 1u. I guess we're going to try a 2 and a 1. And then let's make this positive and that negative. So that should work, right? Because that's on the inside we get negative 1u. On the outside we get a positive 4u, which gives us the positive 3u we're after. Okay, so let me erase that. Okay. Now, so what's that mean? That of course means u is equal to a half, and u is equal to negative 2. Now, okay, well, but what is u? U is the expression 1 minus x to the 1/6 power, right? To the 1/6 power, which is now said to equal 1/2. And then again, 1 minus x to the 1/6 power is going to want to equal negative 2. Okay, so let's take care of business here. All right, and see what happens. Okay, so if we want to get rid of the 1/6 power, we got 1 minus x to the 1/6 power, which we can get rid of by raising to the 6th power, which means we have to raise this side to the 6th power as well. Okay, and so that would be 1 minus x, which remains, and so 1/2 to the 6th power. So know your powers at 2. That's 1/64. All right. So so then what we can say is essentially I can just make this read x minus 1 is equal to negative 1/64. So then x equals 1 minus 1 plus a negative, or 1 minus 1/64, which means that x needs to be 63/64 negative, right? 63/64 negatives. Now, okay, this one, here we go again, sorry about that. Okay, this one should rise, it should throw up the red flag on this one, okay? Really, you should, because you're saying, you're taking, well, you know, the 1/6, we're gonna play with it and see what happens. So again, we're gonna do the same thing over here. I'm going to be a little suspicious of this, okay? And we're going to see what happens, okay? So let's see. Again, I'm going to raise both sides to the 6th power as I did over there. That just gives me 1 over x, okay? 1 minus x equals, okay? And then we're going to raise both of these to the 6th power. So that raised to the 6th power, of course, goes to a positive, because it's a negative raised to an even power, so it's positive 64. Okay, and then I'm going to reverse the order of these. 1 minus x equals, so then I'll make that negative 64. And then, so then that means what? X is equal to 1 minus 64, which means x is equal to negative 63. So at first it looked like maybe I was suspicious of it, but now look what happens when I throw that value in. Okay, I've got 2 times, I've got the negative 63 would go in. Okay, and let me make sure I've been recording this. Yes, okay. So negative 63 would go in, and then it's be 1 minus the negative 63 up here. So that'd be 1 plus 63, which would make it 64, obviously. So 64. And the cube root of 64 is 4. So that gives me 8. 8, because it's... and then I've got 3 times the 6th root of 64, okay? And 3 times the 6th root of 64, the 6th root of 64 should be known as 2, okay? And you can see off here, this is going to be 8 plus 6, which is not going to equal 2. So this one, as I thought was going to be suspicious, is not going to be the answer. I would ask you to proceed with illustrating that this is the solution, okay? So that I would leave for you to show that this guy is the solution, okay? And that should do it for this problem.